think of the future, you likely envision the remarkable technologies that you've seen in comic books and films. You may begin to picture flying cars, trains driven by electromagnets, or household robots that will see to your every need. While modern scientists agree that many of these inventions are either unlikely or unnecessary, it may surprise you to learn what the future could actually hold. Imagine being able to share your thoughts with millions of people at once, simply by typing them on a keyboard and sending them through the air. Think of what life will be like when all of the many fixtures of an office, including a typewriter and an entire Rolodex, can fit within a device smaller than a loaf of bread. Consider the vacation plans you could make when a single trip on an airplane is all that's needed to visit anywhere on Earth. Yes, the future certainly looks bright, but it isn't without its darker sides. According to some predictions, obesity will likely run rampant, and political corruption will become so commonplace as to be accepted. People with nothing entertaining or informative to say will broadcast their demands for attention, and once beloved performers will become pushers of snake oil. Perhaps worst of all will be the emergence of a deadly and potentially devastating disease. Think of the last time that you contracted influenza. You were likely bedridden for days, having no appetite or desire to play games. Experts predict that by the year 2020, a new virus will rise, spreading from somewhere in Asia to the rest of the world. And with international travel being available to even the most common citizen, a sickness which would have been contained in years past will quickly spread to all corners of the globe.
COVID-19! 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 COVID-19!
The entire town has been quarantined by the federal government, nobody allowed in or out, which means nobody can come to our aid. It appears this town and this reporter are done for. Coming up next, choosing the right hair conditioner. What you don't know about hair care products could be costing you a bundle.
People across San Diego reacting to this tweet sent out by the office of Governor Gavin Newsom, reminding people not only to wear a mask, but to wear it while eating.
I feel that if they think it's necessary, they got to do what they got to do. Personally, I don't like the idea of putting between each bite you're saying to put. I think that's a little unnecessary.
Pull your mask up after every bite. We'll be better off if you do it right. The state has gone to hell. The economy is destroyed. You bought into the BS. I kept you paranoid. If you don't eat with your mask, I'll be really pissed. Much more than a liberal, I might be a communist. So eat with your mask, and don't you wear a frown. 'Cause if you make me angry, I'll lock you bastards down. Again.
Donald Trump's chief of staff, Mick Mulvaney, told the Conservative Political Action Conference that the coronavirus was a hoax of the day. Do you agree with Donald Trump's chief of staff, Mulvaney, that the coronavirus is the hoax of the day?
The State Department is doing everything it can to protect American citizens around the world.
Do you believe coronavirus is the hoax of the day?
I'm not going to comment on what others say.
I'm just asking you, do you believe the coronavirus is a hoax?
I'm just telling you what the Secretary of State's doing.
Do you believe the coronavirus is a hoax?
We're working to keep people safe.
You can't even answer that question.
Yeah,
it's not even a gotcha question. You believe the coronavirus is a hoax?
It's a gotcha moment. It's not useful.
Is the coronavirus a hoax? Can you just ansr that question?
We're taking it seriously. This is a serious.
Are you at 12:15 today? Are you in fact yourself speaking at CPAC? At 12:15 today, are you speaking?
Yes, I am. I'm planning.
All right, so you can only give 2 hours to this bipartisan group of members of Congress, and instead of answering questions on life and death issues from a bipartisan group of America's representatives, you're going to go talk to a special interest group.
Yes.
You, sir, represent all Americans, not a special interest group. It is shameful. You can't even answer basic questions. I yield back.
Gentleman's time has expired.
To go back to the State Department, or as they call it, the Deep State Department, if you don't mind. I'd like to have him go back and do his job. So does anybody have any questions? Please.
As you may have already heard, it's all starting to unravel. It had to happen. At 3:05 p.m. today, an economist in the Victorian Department of Finance and Treasury, Sanjeev Sablok, announced that he had resigned last week, I quote, at length, so that I would be free to speak out against the state's management of the COVID-19 infection. I made a number of criticisms of the state government on social media. The head of human relations at Treasury asked me to remove them. I resigned on the same day, the only honourable course for a free citizen of Australia. He said, I never dreamt I'd see some of the tactics being used to defend the state's health. The pandemic policies being pursued in Australia, he wrote, particularly in Victoria, are the most heavy-handed possible, a sledgehammer to kill a swarm of flies. He went on, these policies are having hugely adverse economic, social and health effects, with the poorer sections of the community who don't have the ability to work from home suffering the most. Australia, he said, is signalling to the world that it's closed for business and doesn't care for human freedoms. This will dampen business investment, but also impact future skilled migration, the education industry and tourism, unquote. Now, echoing what I've been saying for months, this former Victorian Treasury economist said, and I quote, the whole thing hinges on the scare created by politicians and health professionals. For instance, Victoria's Chief Health Officer, Brett Sutton, claims this is, quote, the greatest public health challenge since the Spanish flu, unquote. He writes, this is no Spanish flu. We can verify that easily. The Spanish flu killed at least 50 million people worldwide in 1918, when the global population was 1.8 billion. Proportionately, to be as lethal as the Spanish flu, a virus would have to kill today at least 210 million people. Instead, only around 0.9 million have died so far. Compare this, he says, with the 60 million who ordinarily die each year. Sanjeev Sablok said, quote, but even if the pandemic had been as big as the Spanish flu, lockdowns could never have been justified. There are strong scientific arguments against lockdowns. So what should the government have done? He said the data were clear from February itself, that the elderly are many times more vulnerable to a serious outcome than the young. It was necessary, therefore, to work out a targeted, age-based strategy and start aggressively protecting and isolating the elderly, even as the rest of the population was advised on relevant precautions. But he said that wasn't done.
I'm Roger, and I believe you're entitled to the health care that you need, or perhaps the health care you can afford. That's why I founded Horton Pharmaceuticals, a company dedicated to holding drug patents. Our drug company gains patents by hiring the smartest people in the world and giving them anything they need to develop the latest, most effective, most cutting-edge business deals. Deals to buy existing drug patents. You are the best, Dirk. Dirk's an attorney. Anyway, after we spend money advertising the drugs we've patented and other money getting doctors to prescribe our drug and other money lobbying in Washington, we spend, the rest of it on research. And don't get me wrong, it costs billions of dollars and years and effort to develop just one new drug. But believe me, we've got many, many more billions than that. That lobbying money brings us $30 billion every year that used to be your taxes. Your taxes. I know this sounds complicated, so just think of it like this. Oh, hey. We also spend $24 billion in countless sales babe hours every year marketing our drugs to your doctor. And your doctor is the one who needs medical help. They're stressed out by school debt and malpractice insurance premiums, costing each of them millions. Maybe that stress is why 53% of doctors are obese, or why 1 in 6 surgeons has an alcohol problem, or why becoming a physician more than doubles the chances someone will commit suicide. Who can blame those emo nerds for taking the bait when drug companies mismarket a drug or two here or there, causing tens of billions of annual dollars in avoidable mishaps and deaths? But don't worry. Our drug company cares about keeping you alive just as much as you care, which is basically you don't. 10% of you lie to your doctor about your smoking habit. 20% of ER patients are there to score painkillers. that we make. And doctors trained to figure out how you're lying to them, not if, because when it comes to being honest with a medical professional, millions of you would literally rather die. By the way, my vertebrae hurt. So remember, until you die, or lose insurance, or need something we're pricing you out of, buy my drugs. Drugs that I call pharmaceuticals, so it sounds less like I deal drugs for a living.
I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV. If your child had a cough, she'd get just what the doctor orders.
You know what? I make a lot more money if I take this kid's tonsils out.
I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV.
If there's a blue pill and a red pill, and the blue pill is half the price of the red pill and works just as well, why not pay half price?
Trusted the scientists back in 1976 with the original swine flu shot, and a lot of people got sick. Right. Not only that, some people died, some people were paralyzed. From the shot itself. And people remember the swine flu vaccine as a terrible disaster.
But this is one time. Forget the conspiracy. Listen to our government agencies. These guys are telling the truth. You know, there's no conspiracy here, folks. Just get your damn vaccine.
We'll have to prepare for the next one. That, you know, I'd say is will get attention this time.
Hi. We're told to be afraid, but my gut tells me to be playful, kind, and loving. We're told we need to wait for a cure to be healthy, but my gut tells me I'm already allowed to be healthy. We're told our rights are being taken from us for our protection, but my gut tells me it's not protecting me, it's imprisoning me. We're told that human connection is dangerous and deadly, but my gut tells me human connection is good for me. We're told that going outside is bad for us, but my gut tells me it's good for me. We're told to believe what they say, but my gut tells me to believe what I think. The news tells us what's true, but my gut tells me most of what they say isn't true. We're told to trust the external authorities, but my gut tells me to trust my internal authorities. What would happen if you stopped outsourcing your truth and started paying attention to what your mind, eyes, gut, and heart tells you your truth is? Just something to think about.
The world is alive.